Good morning! Okay, so today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a buttonhole using your brother sewing machine. Most brother sewing machines are very universal when it comes to these features. As long as you have a one-step buttonhole, this is how you would do it. If you have a four-step or a three-step buttonhole maker, it may be a little different, so you may have to reference your owner's manual to get more details. I highly suggest that you do reference your brother or even your Singer, whatever machine you have, owner's manual on how to do a buttonhole foot on your machine so that you have more details on it. Okay, so I'm going to give you the information on the step-by-step on my brother machine. Mine is an XR 3700 series, and a lot of the 3700s are very close to what I'm about to show you. Okay, so first thing you're going to need is you're going to need your buttonhole foot. Okay, this is your buttonhole foot. This is your button foot. Okay, this is your button foot. These all come standard with your sewing machine. I'm going to use a scrap piece of fabric to practice with at first. I like to use the same fabric for the application that I'm using. So if you're making a garment, use a scrap piece of fabric from the garment you are making. If you are making a handbag or a tote bag or something like that, use the same fabric that you would use for the tote bag, etc. Okay? I got a hand needle because I'm going to also show you how to do hand needle, how to hand stitch a button on. In case you don't know how to do that, that's great information to have. We need a pair of scissors for cutting utensils, some thread. I need my seam ripper. I need buttons. I need my pins and a measuring device. So I'm just going to use my measuring tape that I have here. Okay, so measuring tape, pins, something to mark with. So I'm going to use my little chalk things. Okay, and then we're going to get started. So let me put you over to where the machine is so I can give you some information on how to do it. Okay, I want to move you on over to the machine, get you guys focused. Okay, bear with me. I'm my own camera person, so you just kind of have to bear with me for a few minutes. There we go. Okay, perfect. Trying to get you right where you need to be so you can see all these little things. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to switch out your foot. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you how we are going to change out our foot right here. Okay, so this is the presser foot. When you lift it, see that? You lift your presser foot. This is right here. On the back, there's this little button in the back that you just push and it takes off your foot. Okay? And then you put on this foot. So here's a tip. This foot here has this thing that kind of moves back and forth. This is so that you can have different size buttons. You could use different size buttons. I'm going to use this purple buttons because it's nice and bright and you can see it. Snap it on there really good so it doesn't fall off. That's what you do. So that's how you know. That's how your machine knows what size to make your button. Okay. Put this on, you flip it on. The little cross-marked pieces, there we go. So the little cross-marked pieces right in here, that's where your starting point is going to be. I'm going to reference that a little bit later when I go to my scrap piece of fabric. So always look for those little red marks right in here, okay? So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to change the stitch selection on your machine. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see right here it says number 1. Looks like a box with stitches around it. That is your buttonhole stitch. So you want to go ahead and crank that over to number 1. Okay, right there. So this arrow hits at number 1. That's the selection you've selected. This one right here. Up here at the top of my machine. Okay, normally it's like around 3.5, 4, something like that. So we want to move this on over to F. Here we want to keep it at the middle, so the needle is in the middle position, which is between 2 and 3. Okay, You're going to want to leave that there. You don't do anything with your tension. Make sure everything is threaded. Everything's already threaded on my machine. Okay? The next thing you're going to want to do is right here on the side of your machine, right here, this little lever that comes up and down. Okay? I'm going to push that lever down and then push it back until you hear it click. So I'm going to do it again for you, okay? Down, away from you. And then you heard that little click. That means it's engaged and it's ready to start sewing. Okay? So it's ready to start sewing. So you have gotten everything set up to start sewing. So I'm going to double my fabric up, okay? Because when you usually hold on, let me get back just a little bit. There you go. So usually what you do with these, you have to have it doubled up because most of the times you have 2 layers when you're doing a button in a buttonhole. So just to let you know, okay? All right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to lift up your presser foot, put it down, and put it back down. So on mine, I don't have a marking per se. Let me get myself a marking so you guys could see it. Okay. So I've marked my fabric. Right there's my starting point. Okay, the starting point is always the one that's closest to you. So when you put this down, it's the marking that's closest to you. The bottom portion, that's where you want to line up your little red hash marks on your fabric. Okay, right in there, right here. Okay, and there's my little blue mark. That's where I got started from. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to use my hand crank and put my needle down into position, okay, just like when you're getting ready to start to do a sewing project any other time. Okay. Okay, just a second, perfect. Want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Perfect. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and get started. So now that we've gotten everything engaged, okay, you've set it up properly with all of the things. Now we're going to go ahead and start working on our buttonhole. So what you want to do is just hold your fabric, okay? You don't want to pull on it, you don't want to tug on it, you don't want to do too much. You're just going to guide it, okay? Only when it's bulky do you need to kind of tuck it a little bit. Let's go ahead and hit the presser foot, and it's going to go. It's going to come coming towards you just like it normally does when it sews. When it comes back to where it originally came from, you can see that. Pull it off, cut it. And then that's our buttonhole. So you see how the little zigzags are kind of like spaced out a little bit and things like that. So it's okay. It's not nothing. It's just sometimes you need to have it a little tighter. So if you want it a little tighter, just change your setting on your zigzag. So on my zigzag, I'm going to make it like between 3 and 4. And I'm going to try it again. So here's the key. When you go to make your next buttonhole, you have to push this lever back. Okay? So you have to push this lever back so it engages. What happens is when it comes to the part right here where it's going to make the size of the button, it clicks forward and it knows to come back in reverse. So this pushing forward makes it go all the way forward until it has to stop. Let me do one more for you guys. Sometimes you have to help it just a little bit, but not like pulling or anything. You're just kind of guiding it more than anything else. gets back to the beginning, you kind of hear it kind of go over itself, and it's a little thicker in the stitch length, and the stitches right there, so it kind of stops you. So here's our second one. It's a little better. You can see right here where it was kind of loose. That's because it started coming back really fast. So I kind of slowed it down by holding it a little bit and slowed it down. So, but those are our 2 buttonholes. Okay? So what you do now, after you've done your buttonholes, what you need to do is get your seam ripper. Okay? I'll show you what you do with the seam ripper right here. Okay. What you do now is you want to go ahead and trim off all of your threads. Okay. What I like to do is get myself a safety pin, or just a pin, put it at one end, right before the end of the button. Can you guys see that right there? Okay. Then I'm going to take my seam ripper and pull and tug on it just a little bit until I get to that pin. You see where I get to that pin right there? I can't go any further. That helps you from not going all the way through. And then you've gotten your buttonhole open. Okay, I'll show you again. Put my pin right there. Okay. Push it in. Make sure not to get yourself on the other side, because I've done that a few times before. I didn't do it just now, but I'm just telling you when I first got started. And then you got your second buttonhole. So that's how you do your buttonholes. See that? So now on this side, over here, I'm going to do my buttons. On these 2 sides, I'm going to do my buttons right over here. So I'm going to show you how I do my markings to do my buttons. So what I do, I usually try to fold the fabric onto itself, make sure it lined up at the bottom seam or anywhere else I need to be, so I make sure my button is exactly where it needs to be. Okay, so I go ahead and come in here and I make my marking, and I make my marking inside the hole that you've already made. See that? Then I find the middle part, which is right there. And I'm going to show you the first one, hand stitched. Now some people ask me, what is a dual thread hand needle? So what that means is that I have threaded my needle and then I knot it at the bottom. Okay? And I have knotted it at the bottom. So it's one string, but it's looped over, and then it's knotted off so that it can't go in. So it's dual, it's 2 strings. Okay? So what I like to do is come up from underneath, so on the back side of the fabric or the garment, go like that. Okay? Let me get my button. I'm going to leave that button in there, and I'm going to get another one that's similar in size. Nope, that's much too big. Okay, this one's very similar in size. So come in, and you hold on to it, okay? Now you want to make sure you straighten back your button out, and you want to make sure it's the holes are going parallel to each other, and then you come right through, okay? You do that about 3 or 4 times. Come back in from the back side. So from the back side, I'm gonna flip it over. I'm going to come back in here where the original one came in, and then I'm going to put it through that first hole again. Okay, just want to do that, and then again, make sure it's nice and tight. Straighten it out, put it back through. You have to do this, like I said, several times, like 3 or 4 times. Come through the back. Flip it over if you need to. Come through that one side. Okay, so I've done mine about 3 times. I'm going to show you a trick that I do to really make sure my buttons do not come off. And this is something that's a little different from buttons that you buttonholes that are made, you know, manufacturers and stuff like that. They don't have time to do this extra step. So I tell you that because they do it the way I'm going to show you on the machine. Bring it up from the bottom. Right, and do not go through this hole yet. Just leave it up. And then I want you to wrap it around several times, like 4 or 5 times. And then I want you to go back down through the fabric back to the other side. Okay? Get these other strings out the way so they're not confusing you. Okay. So I didn't just cut the thread I had, it's another one that I did. Okay? So there we go, just like that. And knot it off. I go through the string, through the thread. Okay? Pull it through. Right before I finish off, I go right back in there, and I do that twice, just to be extra secure. Okay? And then there is our button that goes with our buttonhole, and then if you put this through, voila. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to attach the button foot onto our machine, and then we are going to show you how to do the buttonhole. Okay, so what we're going to do now, okay, move you guys right back on over. Maybe right here actually. Lift you back up. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're going to put this guy back up. We're going to snap this foot off. Okay, and we're going to take this foot and put our, this is how it's going to go on the machine. Okay, you see how the little, the holes are right there, and then the blue, like, foot pieces look like they're on either side of it. That's just going to hold down our button. Okay, but first we're going to put it on the machine, snap it on like that. Okay. I'm going to show you how to change the settings on the machine in just a second, but first we want to get this set up. So we want to put our button where our mark is, put it up underneath, and put our foot down. Okay? Just what holds and secures. Don't do anything else. Your needle does have to be up. Okay? The next thing we want to do on our machine, so our machine settings are going to change just a little bit. So here, on our stitch selection, it's going to go from the 1 to the 3. So you see how 3 is a zigzag? Okay? We're going to go to number 3. Okay? We're doing a zigzag. That's what we're looking for. Up here at the stitch dial, we're going to go to 0 because we don't want it to go forward or backwards. We want it to stay still in that same spot. Okay? Here on the stitch selection, this is where it gets a little tricky and you have to kind of use your hand crank to kind of get an idea of what you're wanting to do. So on the side, I'm going to be doing my hand crank, but I want you to see what happens inside here. Okay, so here, I'm going down through the first hole. You see that? I'm hand cranking it at first, just to make sure. And now it's going to move over to the right, and this is where I want it to, see it's going a little too far to the right. I want to bring it back up. I'm changing my stitch selection up here. Okay, I'm making it not so wide. And it's getting in on the other side in there. So I'm going to try to see if I can see that. So I'm just going to, again, make sure. Nope. It's not quite getting in there. So this is what happens. I need 2 hands now. Because it's not quite getting in there. So I'm going to just adjust where my buttonhole is. There we go. So I just adjusted my buttonhole to be better lined up And then if I hand crank it, see how it's just going left to right, left to right? You kind of have to do this hand cranking for a little while, and then if you have gotten it really good and adjusted, you kind of, then you can use it on your machine, and you do it several times, then you lift it up, and you pull it off. It's that simple. Now, it does take practice because you have to understand how your zigzag works, and you have to understand how your zigzag works, and you have to know the distance, and you have to adjust the distance a little bit at the top with your zigzag, okay? So then you put this button in there, and you put this button in here, and there you go. You have done a buttonhole, and now you learn how to hand sew your button and machine sew your button on using this sewing machine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, comments, likes, anything like that, leave them on the comments below. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, because we have lots and lots of more videos coming up for you guys. So I want you guys to really thoroughly enjoy sewing, and I can help you in any way. Just let me know. These little threads just drive me crazy. If you've already known anything about me, you know these threads just drive me crazy. Okay, so I hope to have to hear from you guys soon. Let me know what you guys are making and doing, and if you have any suggestions on what we should cover next, just let me know and I'll be sure to do it. Thanks, and have a great day and holiday season.